This is my capstone presentation, Pennies for Puppies. So when I'm thinking of what to do for my capstone, I went through ideas of things I have a passion for. I love writing, so my original idea was to write a book of some sort. My grandpa tells amazing stories of his own creation with his own original characters, and I thought I could transcribe those stories into children's books, have him illustrate them since he's an artist, and publish them. The idea was at first exciting, but I soon lost the spark of interest. My next idea was to teach archery to underprivileged kids since I'm an advanced archer. I became certified as an archery instructor, but the logistics of the project were proving too difficult to work out, and once again, the project soon lost its appeal. Around that time, I started volunteering at the Humane Society of the Tennessee Valley Animal Shelter as a kennel assistant, which means I work directly with the animals so the staff can focus on other things. And I truly found my passion working with those animals. I knew then my project had to have something to do with animals, and thus Pennies for Puppies was born. Pennies for Puppies is a pet service business, providing services such as dog walking, dog sitting when families are out of town, and letting dogs out while families are at work, and all the money earned goes to the Humane Society Animal Shelter. I chose to create this business because I love working with animals, and some people in my neighborhood had already been using me to watch their pets while they were away, so I thought, why not make a business out of it? The rates for the services were very flexible. I began with charging $25 a night for overnight pet sitting, $8 for a walk plus $1 for additional dog, and $5 to $6 an hour for entertaining pets while owners are at work. Most people gave a lot more than that since the money was going to charity, but I did have a hard time negotiating the price with one family. They only paid me $10 for 4 hours of work the first time I watched their dog, so I had to have a conversation with them and kindly ask them to raise the rates. It was difficult because I don't really like confrontation, but they agreed to pay more for the services I provided. These are two animals I've watched, Shiloh and the cat. When I first began the project, I met with Mr. Van Elkins, an accountant, to talk about making Pennies for Puppies a 501c3 charity business so people's donations could be tax deductible. A 501c3 would encourage people to give more and to pay a lot more for the services that they receive since the money goes to charity and because they could deduct that money off their taxes. However, Mr. Elkins did not recommend making Pennies for Puppies a 501c3 because it would require way too much legal work and paperwork for such a small business, and he thought I would do well enough without it. I also didn't expect the project to be as much work as it was. I had to stay by myself at houses of people's pets while they were out of town for a week numerous times, and it was a lot harder than I expected it to be. I had to take care of a living animal 24/7 during that time, and during those weeks I was actively taking care of them most of the time, and I regularly took them to the dog park. I spent over 500 hours watching dogs for this project, and it was really hard work, but it was really rewarding too. I also expected to get a lot more business than I did. Near the beginning of my project, I sent an email to some of my friends telling them about the project and asking if they would be willing to help, but I never ended up needing their help. These are two other dogs. That's Walter, and this is Granger. To get more business, I created the poster you see here, and I put it up at the local dog parks, local small businesses, veterinary offices, and of course I received word-of-mouth recommendations from people I provided services to and from the animal shelter. I didn't really get much business from the posters. Only one woman contacted me, and when I went to her house to see what she would need me to do, her dog tried to attack me, so we decided it wouldn't work out. I gave her the contacts of trainers from the animal shelter, and they're resolving those problems, thankfully. So all the business came from recommendations from people I already know. I chose to give the money to the Humane Society because they're the only no-kill shelter in the Knoxville area. And because they don't euthanize animals, they receive no money from the government because the government only funds city-run kill shelters. I've been volunteering since February. I've volunteered over nearly 50 hours, and I really love my time I spent there. I love every second of working with the animals. The Humane Society uses the money they receive very effectively to provide the best environment they can for the dogs, cats, and other animals they have at their shelter. I raised $1,037 over my time with this project. I gave $115 to the General Medical Fund, and the Humane Society provides options for low-cost spay and neuter procedures for their dogs and cats to reduce the number of stray animals on the streets, and they do those procedures to every animal they take in. And they will also provide their shelter animals with any procedure they need before they send them home. I gave $60 to the General Donation Fund, and I used $662 to sponsor the dogs. I sponsored 13 dogs who were having a hard time getting adopted, which means I cover the cost of their shots, their spay-neuter procedure, any other medical needs they had, their time at the shelter, and I bring their adoption fee from $150 down to $25. And that fee reduction helps a lot more than people realize, because many people can't or aren't willing to spend over $100 for a dog, even though they may be a great home for the dog. It really helps the dogs get adopted faster. These are two of my favorite dogs from the animal shelter, Fancy and Zoe. They're bonded, which means they have to stay together at the shelter and they have to be adopted together, because when they're separated, they have severe separation anxiety and they get depressed. So they had a hard time getting adopted, but they eventually were together. One thing I've learned from this project is how to be responsible in the adult world. I had to stay by myself for a week numerous times, and I learned how to take care of a living animal without anyone else's help, how to live on my own, even if it was only for a short period of time, and I also learned how to manage scheduling and money for a small business. That skill will help me a lot later in life, and it's a very valuable skill that not many people my age have. I've put Pennies for Puppies on my college applications, and it's helped a lot, and I hope it will help me get a job later in life. It will help me down the path if I choose to create a small business later in life. It will help me because I know the bare basics of managing a business. Managing my time maturely was also very important. Most of the work for this project was done over the summer, and I had to learn that I can't do everything I want to with my friends if I'm responsible for an animal. And I also had to be responsible about leaving things if I had to go take care of the animal. And so it gave me a glance into what my life will be like in the future if I own animals. This is Bella and Pogo, two dogs I've taken care of. I wouldn't change anything if I started over with this project. I think I managed the business very effectively, and I enjoyed every second of it. One takeaway is that I have learned how much I love taking care of animals and spending time with them. I have always had a passion for animals, but now I know I want to do something like this for the rest of my life, whether it's through volunteering with the Humane Society, since they have locations all over the country and all over the world, or working with Pennies for Puppies, because I plan to continue this business through my senior year in the summer and maybe even into college if I'm able, or with my own animal rescue facility. I want to create an animal rescue facility much later in life because I've learned that I have a passion for helping shelter animals, and I want to do everything I can to make their lives better. I would never have thought to do something like that if it weren't for this project. And these are two other dogs I've taken care of, Tenley and Zeffy. And that's it.